Here is the question for you to ponder about as you work through this lecture. Is it possible for a non-linear dialogue to invoke all the intents in an agent? We are now done with creating the location good and the location bad intents. Each of those intents at the very end asked a question about the facilities at the hotel that the customer stayed at. Were the facilities good or bad? Now let's create those two intents, facilities good and facilities bad. If the answer to the question asked in the previous intent was that the facilities were good, we will branch to the facilities good intent. If it was that the facilities were bad, we will branch to the facilities bad intent. We'll start off by configuring the facilities good intent first. The important thing is to set up the context correctly. The input context to the facilities intent will be the facilities feedback context, which was the output of the location intents. And in the simple nonlinear dialogue example that we're looking at here, the facilities intent marks the end of our customer satisfaction survey, which is why we do not need an output context for this intent. Anytime the user response to the previous intent's question is good, the facilities were good, or it was good, then this is the intent that will be invoked. So configure your user expressions accordingly. The user rating is automatically captured in the expressions. The ratings parameter name is a required one because without that, this particular intent will not be invoked. So unless the user says good, facilities good will not be invoked after the location intent. Check on that checkbox, mark it as required, and configure your text response. You don't need to ask any additional questions here because this marks the end of our customer satisfaction survey. You can simply say, glad you liked it because the user liked the facilities and end the conversation right there. Hit save on this intent. We are done with configuring it. And let's move ahead and create a new intent to handle facilities bad. This is when the user was not happy with the facilities at the hotel. So call this facilities bad, and the rest of the configuration should be very familiar to you. It's important to set up the context correctly. The input context should be the facilities feedback context, and we should have no output context because this is the last intent in any branch that we follow. So we configure our user says any expression which contains the rating bad, it was bad, or the facilities for bad will invoke this intent. Set up your user expressions accordingly. Mark rating as a required parameter as we did in other cases. And then let's go ahead and configure the text response. Since this is the last intent that we'll invoke, we can simply sympathize with the user and assure him that we'll try to do better later. I'm sorry you didn't like the facilities. We'll try to do better next time. Hit save on the last intent that we need to configure, and we are now ready to test our non-linear dialogue. We'll kickstart by invoking the first intent in our customer satisfaction survey. Simply type in support or feedback in the test pane. That is our first intent. Now, immediately the intent responds with a question. How would you rate the location of the hotel, good or bad? This is the entry point to our non-linear dialogue, and our response to this question will determine which intent will be called next. So let's say I say the location was great or it was good. My rating is good. Notice that the location feedback context has been set, which means a rating of good with the location feedback context set means we trigger the location good intent. The location good intent thanks us for our positive feedback and immediately asks about the facilities of the hotel. Now, for the facilities, I say good, I'm happy with the facilities as well. This response will immediately trigger the facilities good intent because our rating was good. At this point, the response is glad you liked it. Thank you for the feedback. We've come to the end of our customer satisfaction survey where the location was good and the facilities were good. This is one branch. There are two contexts that are active at this point in time. The location feedback context, which was set by our support intent, the entry point to this nonlinear dialogue, and the facilities feedback context that was set by our location good intent. Click on reset context so that we can do another test run and branch through another set of intents. Let's start off with the entry point. We say feedback, and this triggers our support intent that immediately asks us, how would you rate the location of the hotel, good or bad? We are going to shake it up a bit this time. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the hotel was bad. The location was bad. I wasn't happy, which means now the location bad intent will be triggered. This is a different intent from earlier. The text response for this intent acknowledges that we weren't happy with the location of the hotel and now asks us a question about the facilities at the hotel, to which we respond good. This will branch our nonlinear dialogue to the facilities good intent. And this is where our nonlinear dialogue ends. I've only spoken about two branches through the intents that we've set up, but there are many branches that exist, a total of four with the five intents that we set up. You can try the others and ensure that they work for your nonlinear dialogue. And the answer to this question is a resounding no. It is not possible for a nonlinear dialogue to invoke all intents. Which intent it triggers depends on the user responses, and the user responses are mutually exclusive. A response can't be both good and bad, it has to be good or bad, and based on that, only a particular intent will be triggered at every step.